Hello everyone, I'm Paul Stevens, editor of Short Term Rentals, and welcome to this latest RockStrz webinar on the changing landscape of reviews. We're back after a short break for our annual Shorties Awards, but before we kick off today's conversation, check out these short videos from our series sponsor Nuki and our short 2-minute highlights video from our recent Shorties Awards.
Welcome to the Shorties Awards.
Park City Lodging.
I want to say thank you so much. It's such an honor.
I'm absolutely delighted to win the Best Staycation Award.
Feature treats, hashtag be here later.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Best use of social media.
We really appreciate, especially being in such good company.
Alto Vita.
Thank you so much for this incredible recognition.
It really is a privilege and an honor.
Rentals United.
Playground.
Emerald Stay.
Thank you, everyone.
Elizabeth Becker, High B&B.
Thank you so much for this award. I am absolutely honored.
Lewis Ballard, play away, stay away.
Carolina Saviova, Alto Vita. Congratulations.
I am absolutely thrilled to be the Rising Star for 2021.
Well, it's needless to say to thank you so much for your trust and your vote.
So thanks for tuning in and take care. So that's a snapshot there of our 2021 Shorties Awards. A fantastic event, and we really encourage you to get in touch with us. A bit later, we will be sharing a few more details about how you can join us as a sponsor for the 2022 Shorties Awards. But we'll come back to that a bit later. So in terms of webinar guidelines, please keep your sound on mute and your camera off if you are not speaking. I'm being ably assisted by my colleagues Joe, Justin and Flor today. All of the details are in the chat, and please do post any questions you have there during today's conversation. And finally, a recording will be sent round to everyone after the session. So yeah, this is me, Paul Stevens, editor of Short Term Rentals. And let me introduce our rock stars for today. So we're going to start with Satyan from Google. Take it away, Satyan.
Hello, thank you, Paul. My name is Satyan. I'm based in London in the Google office. I'm currently the EMEA product lead for travel products, speaking to clients, but also internal teams with regards to the new developments that we're hopefully launching or continue to launch.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Satyan. And next, Christophe from Reviews. Take it away.
Yes. Hi everyone. So Christophe, co-founder and CEO at Reviews.com, the only all-in-one review aggregator in short-term rentals. I'm also a property manager. We manage 40 plus properties in Spain, in Costa Blanca, and very happy to be here today in this webinar.
Yeah, it's great to have you on our expert panel today, Christophe.
Thanks.
And next up, Ali from Commercial Acceleration Ltd.
Yep. Hi, everyone. Nice to be called a rock star. I play the drums, but I wouldn't say it's anywhere near as good as that status. So, yep, I'm a business growth expert. So help businesses with my growth consultancy, commercial acceleration, to optimize acquisition, service and retention.
Thank you very much, Ali. You may have seen that we've got James Hacon from MAPAL Group lined up to be on our panel. He's having a few issues connecting with us. We hope that he's going to be able to at least connect at least partway through the session. I believe he's out in the Hebrides at the moment, so always the pressures of getting the signal out there. So in terms of context, we have news from our speaker Christophe from Reviews about launching last year and how managers and hosts want more control over their reviews. We also have a terms and conditions update, TripAdvisor, which we will be touching on in a bit as well. And next up, we're going to be touching on Verbo's Fast Start program. And this recent story, you may have seen it, a recent story about YouTubers going viral over a prank listing over a doll's house on Airbnb. So relating that back to fraudulent or inaccurate listings, we're going to be touching on that in a bit as well. So we're going to start, I think, with Ali. So I think you've got fantastic experience with reviews and how to generate revenue from this. So, you know, my first question, I guess, would be, why would you definitely recommend responding to reviews in the first place? Is this, you know, always a must? Is there a certain science or art to it? What would you say? Yeah, so it's a great question. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I'll answer that in two parts. So first is sort of why I think it's such a benefit to your revenue, and second is how, like you say, is there an art to improving it? So yeah, first on the why, I mean, I'm always about the facts and the commercial evidence, and there is quite a lot of evidence out there about why responding to reviews is beneficial to your top line, your bottom line. So if we look at some figures, 88% of consumers use reviews to decide whether or not to make a decision. And 65% of consumers are more likely to book a hotel / hospitality venue that responds to a review. So those are like just some very powerful stats. If you go a bit deeper into case studies, for example, by the Harvard Business Review, it definitely also reiterates that revenue increases as the number of responds increase. And if you were to increase your review score by just 1 point, sorry, it would equate to sort of a 12% increase in turnover. So there's you know, an abundance of evidence coming out there. This could be, I mean, you know, rolling it up, it could be 300,000 extra revenue a year. Who doesn't want that? And so in terms of then how to do it, well, there are tips to improving it. For instance, using the guest name versus this just copy and paste dear valued guest that just makes you feel totally like a, you know, a number and not a face. You can include call to actions, you can include keywords for your search engine, you can include upselling sort of smart ways to get people to come back. There is an art and a science, you know, for instance, some companies like Reviews for You, they specialize in it. So yeah. And you talked there about how I think it was the Cornell University study there you were quoting about how you know, revenue increases and there's a correlation then with the number of responses to review increases there. So you know, are there any tangible benefits to businesses when it comes to responding to reviews, in your opinion?
So yeah, when you say tangible evidence, you mean like apart from revenue, you mean sort of quantifying retention increasing? Yeah, so in terms of being able to charge higher because guests can see that you really value and care about customers' opinion, yeah, I would absolutely say reviews, I mean, they feature in the start and the end of the end-to-end customer journey. you know, so if we think about the life cycle at the beginning, and you think how many people at the moment, for instance, in England are researching where to go, that is a crunch point where new customers will get drawn into who's responding well or who's not responding to negative comments that we'll come to, like this sort of elephant in the room, and why not? And then, you know, at the end, you know, I'm a massive fan of retention and loyalty, and that is a serious way to turn, you know, a happy customer into a raving fan who keeps coming back. So yeah, you've got the acquisition and you've got the retention going on, and these are just engines to use to get more profit.
Fantastic, thank you very much, Ali. We'll come next to Satyan, because I guess in our pre-webinar chat, we were talking about how, you know, the sort of accommodation that's done well so far during the pandemic, and what we would expect for this summer as well with the pent-up demand is cottage and self-catered accommodation. So what would you say maybe they've done well during this time, and how much of it does actually come down to adding that value for the customer and that user generated content?
Thanks, Paul. So, I mean, you have to straight away highlight the reason they've done well is partly because of government regulation and stipulation, which is forcing the hand of the guest really with regards to where they can stay. What a lot of the domestic guys have been doing really well they've been quick to market with regards to messaging based on any of Boris's announcements. They've been quick to adjust what their business model is with regards to ease of flexibility, changing of bookings, being able to change your dates, and painlessly, and although it is an important issue, painlessly being able to offer refunds as well. What we do know and what we do hear, though, is that a lot of people are really, there is pent-up demand. They want to go on holiday. If they can't go because there's a restriction going between Scotland and England, for example, and that comes by suddenly, then they are more likely to look for an alternative destination, which is highlighted by the partner that they're booked with, than actually make a cancellation as well. So they've had to be very quick. And it tends to be the larger companies that manage a lot of these properties. The Aways Group, Sykes, for example, in the UK especially, have been at the forefront of that, and Bourne Leisure as well, of course. So with regards to their properties and what their inventory and how it fits to what the regulations demand, is one part of it. And then on the other side of it is reflecting and being flexible to what the guest is demanding as well, and what they want. And as long as they're open, as long as they're highlighting the stipulations of what is and what isn't possible, either on the booking information or on the website, then that tends to have a good user experience. And the one thing that always turns a user away, or a guest away potentially, is that first initial 3 or 4 seconds from landing on your website. Whether that's on a mobile phone or whether it's on a desktop, they want to see that what they're expecting is reflected, and it's quick and it's efficient. And if they've given you their information, then they don't want to necessarily have to log in every time. They're on a logged in user session, so they should expect that the partner knows who they are, which country they're in, for example, at the very least.
Yeah, you've talked kind of the thread running through that is flexibility and seamlessness, all these things that we've been hearing from. I guess, you know, users are probably spending more time researching where they're going to go for accommodation as well. So how would you say Google is actually playing a part in the whole customer journey? And I think we were discussing this, and it's actually quite a defined process.
Yeah, I mean, Ali touched on it as well, and it's nothing necessarily new, and you can go back years and years pre-internet. It would be a case of the dreaming phase. For those of you of a certain age, you'll remember Judith Chalmers and the TV programs, for example, which would start that inspiration. Whereas now it could be a YouTube video, it could be someone's share on Facebook of an amazing view of their beach, for example. That then leads on to that planning or research phase. And we know reviews are important. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy in terms of everything that when we ask a guest or on the surveys we've done, what's important to them, the two most important things are price and location, followed very quickly by photographs and reviews as well, kind of equally. But you can't have one without the other, right? So people want to see those photographs. They want to understand that this is a good place to stay, whether it's a destination or whether it's a property or wherever it may be. And then that leads on again to the price and the location side of it as well. So they're doing the booking and the planning, then they're experiencing it as well. And again, going back to my old analogy of bless her, Julia Chalmers back in the day, if you had a bad experience on a holiday, you'd write a letter. You'd write a letter to the holiday provider or to a TV program or whatever it may be in order to actually complain about something. Whereas now everyone's got something in their pocket, which is a mobile phone, which allows them to immediately take a photograph, express their either delight or their anger there and then while they're in destination, as it were. And then it becomes, again, that whole sharing part of it as well. So this kind of goes to the crux of the review side of things in terms of what actually is a review. There's the curated reviews, there's the user-generated content, which I may have a higher regard for my Italian colleague who's highlighted an amazing Italian restaurant in Rome compared to a guidebook, for example. So there's a whole kind of variety of what people are taking into consideration before making a decision to investigate a little bit further.
I think we've got the perfect person to respond to that with Christophe. And one thing I really wanted to ask you is, what was your, you can take this opportunity to introduce Revuse a little bit, but what was your main reasons for setting up Revuse in the first place?
Yeah, well, everything started first with a bad experience I had with my own property management company in an OTA. Before starting, it was 5 years ago. Previously, I had been managing my own properties and some other properties as a hobby during several years, and I had like two accounts, my personal account, and then I created my professional account. And when I merged both accounts in this OTA, I lost all my past reviews from certain of my properties. They weren't able to migrate my reviews from an account to another. So really, this was like my first moment to become aware that what we all call our reviews are absolutely not ours. I mean, we have no control over them. They are in many different places, different platforms. So in that time, I searched for solutions for how to get more control over my review, how I could use those reviews on my own website, and I only found very basic widgets, nothing specialized in short-term rentals. And what I could see also that review aggregation is and e-reputation management, generally speaking, is was commonplace in other industries like the hotel industry, but there was nothing similar in short-term rental. So really, it came like this. So after this experience and until we start working on Revuse.com, several years happened. I mean, we only started to work in it in 2019 and launched in June last year. Because at the end, until also I found the perfect team and the perfect co-founder to build the tool, it took some time. And apart from giving back control to property managers and over our reviews and make a backup copy, the biggest USP is to increase trust, SEO, and conversion thanks to the widget.
Good words there. And I guess there's also probably a bit of a dilemma when it comes to reviews as well, because people trust reviews enough to be able to read them on these sites like Expedia, like TripAdvisor, etc. But then there's also increasingly the question there over authenticity. So in your opinion, and you're explaining your USP a bit here, but why is genuine review aggregation so important for operators, even if it's a bad review?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there really is a big dilemma between trusting reviews and questioning reviews. There is the biggest study around the reviews, generally speaking, is done by Bright Local, and one of the conclusions we can see there is, on one side, 79% trust reviews as much as personal recommendations. It even goes up to 90% for millennials. But at the same time, 80% say they also question their authenticity, saying that they know they have read fake reviews in the past year. So fake reviews is really a big problem. There's plenty of them. Last year, a few weeks ago, Trustpilot said they removed more than 2 million fake reviews in their platform. It's absolutely massive. Maybe you will remember 3 years ago the big polemic there was with TripAdvisor, where a fake restaurant reached the first place in London. When it was a shed, or I don't know the word in English, but I mean it was a absolutely fake restaurant. It reached the very first place. So I mean, consumer, generally speaking, and potential guests in our industry know there are plenty of fake reviews, and where a review aggregator can help to increase this trust factor. What we can see in our industry at the end is, for property managers, maybe not so much fake reviews, but how do you call that? They only publish 5-star reviews. They make a pre-selection. You know, your PMS. Thanks to your PMS, you can select the reviews you display. And at the end, this doesn't give any trust. Even many studies show how a few bad reviews can do nothing else than giving more credibility to the majority of good reviews. So at the end, the correct way is not to hide bad reviews. You have to do what Ali said earlier, to respond to them, to make a big good response. But don't try to hide your bad reviews. It's also proof of trust and credibility. So at the end, only one review aggregator displaying all the reviews independently of where they come from is really a good source of trust. And there's a psychological concept there called the multiple source effect. And at the end, when the potential guest can see a coherent, let's say, review score from your reviews, and from OTA reviews, Google reviews, I mean, any sources, it will increase very much the trust and credibility you will give.
Mm. And you've also mentioned that leads me really nicely onto my next question, because you've previously mentioned about review authenticity becoming much more of a priority for travelers. So what would you attribute that shift to? Is it something that has been triggered by a particular factor during this pandemic?
Well, and yeah, talking once again of Bright Local, they make this survey every year, and in 2019, review authenticity was only the 4th factor after recency, overall star rating, and quantity of reviews. And in 2020, it jumped to the 2nd factor after overall star rating and legitimacy. I can't really tell it's directly linked to COVID, but I mean, it's at least remarkable that during COVID time, authenticity of reviews jumped to the second place. So yeah, whatever the reason is, if it's COVID or not, the reality that authenticity and the real reviews is something that potential guests make a lot of attention to.
I think, Ali, you wanted to touch on there about trust and authenticity being the key factor. Did you want to come in on that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the biggest factors, you know, trust, authentic, just come up in all the time as just so key. So you know, it's how you just continually build trust, and with authenticity, there are verification processes that you can use to verify the IP and email address, for instance, of the author. And it will probably be great to see how this can build. I don't know if Christophe, so that was interesting listening to you about other ways and software or sort of cybersecurity that's going to come on to be able to reassure people that these are all legitimate versus not, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if Christophe wanted to come in, if that was an invitation to speak there, or
you mean if there's ways to make sure a review is authentic versus not?
Yeah, like really know. You said I've heard about IP and email verification, yeah, but I just wonder even more. Yeah.
Well, at the end, for us, what we consider verified reviews is our reviews coming from trustable sources like OTAs, Airbnb, VRBO, TripAdvisor, precisely not, VRBO, Airbnb, and Booking, where only really a real guest can leave a review. It's not the case on TripAdvisor. It's not the case on Trustpilot. Not the case on Google. At the end, there is processes they make after manually to erase bad fake reviews. But on our side, we could only consider genuine reviews that come from OTAs where really a guest stayed in the apartment or location.
I'd be interested to get Satyan's response to this. I don't know how much exactly you can reveal about Google's travel product exactly right now, but you know, what does your product sort of allow in terms of genuine review aggregation, filtering, right results, etc.?
So, I mean, before the product themselves, so well, I just wanted to touch on to Christophe and Ali's points there, I suppose, is that there's a couple of things. Reviews always need to be looked at subjectively in terms of what is a bad experience for someone is going to be exactly what another partner or another guest is looking for. So I think there might be, for the vast majority of cases, vast majority of reviews, we believe are correct. They are accurate. They are being truthful of what they are. There is the small minority of reviews which are essentially competitors or people not necessarily playing by the rules, as it were. But on the other side of that, what we think or what we believe is that certainly most of EMEA now is that most guests have become a little bit more savvy. They will go to, in the past you would have gone to TripAdvisor, you found a restaurant or a hotel with 5 reviews, and that would be the basis of what you would make a decision based on. We now know that because it is so easy to leave a thumbs up or a 5-star or a review, people are looking at an aggregate. They are cutting through the chaff. They're not necessarily looking at those 1-star, those complaints. They're not necessarily looking at those really great glowing reviews, but they're taking more of a holistic view of the product that they want to actually purchase itself or experience. With regards to what we're doing, so there's a couple of different things. There's Google customer reviews, so the ability for a hotelier or a business owner to essentially add a snippet within their actual booking process. So if I was to purchase a room or purchase a pair of shoes or whatever it may be before the actual checkout or post-checkout, I'm able to comment on my experience, which then the partner can use within their advertising and their marketing as well. So as they continue to build that up as well. What we are totally, and what we've always been shaped by, is our users. We've got the biggest focus group in the world, right? In terms of what people are doing, what they're searching for, how they're searching, and what's important to them as well. So on the hotel products, for example, we do have a section purely on reviews, but we know that different things are important for different people as well. So as a result, if you could be a loyalist, or you've always had the best experience with hotels.com, let's say, you only want to look at their reviews, you can do that. You want to book a hotel on the coast, and it might be you and 5 friends. looking for a good fun night out, then you can look for a review for couples, for groups, for business purposes. And then there's all those other reviews which are important to people as well, which is based on, can I take my dog? What's the breakfast like? So the ability to actually search for those kind of keywords within the repository of reviews is something that we offer as well. So the ability for any property to be able to, we can bring all that information forward to the user to make sure what's important to them is being highlighted and being displayed as well. And what I mean, the most important thing as well, we try to emphasize is that when you have Google My Business, right? So Google My Business is your listing, which you will own, which becomes a little bit trickier for the short-term rentals and the actual independent or privately owned properties, because they're not necessarily seen as a business. It's not a registered business. But for the other kinds of hotels or businesses which may have a park, for example, we make sure that, or we highlight that that company owns that information. So they have their login, and that's what usually my big one takeaway to anyone I'm speaking to is make sure you own your Google My Business account. If you don't have access to it, make sure you do get access to it. And that's going to be the source of truth with regards to photographs, with regards to information that's being displayed. As I mentioned before, the price is very, very important, but so is location. People want to see where you're actually based. And yes, they can go to your website and you may well say, we're 100 meters from the beach. But what we know is people will go to look at a map and they will actually find your property and they say, oh, it is 100 meters from the beach, but there is a highway that you've got to cross, or there's it's not necessarily an ideal way to get to it, for example. So people are always looking for additional information no matter what you tell them.
Fantastic. I think that actually leads quite nicely onto my my next point. It's probably, I think, the most useful tips that we can get out of this whole talk. So Ali, I want to head to you with your work as a consultant at Commercial Acceleration Ltd. I wanted to touch on how businesses can be improving their credibility, their SEO, their conversion rates. What do you think are the key points we need to take, that operators need to be taking from this?
So it's good to give some practical tips that people could do right now to improve revenue. So one, I would say, is improve your customer end-to-end experience. So I would encourage everyone to do an audit, like end-to-end. So from the moment you dream or inspire to searching, to booking, to coming. So the whole like omni-channel, so online and offline. Review each stage and score yourself out of 5, out of 10, whatever you prefer. And, get others to do it. Like, put yourself in the customer's shoes. How many executives have actually gone to their place and stayed, slept there, realized, oh God, the plug doesn't work here, or there's, complete filth under the bed. You only do that from really like doing the experience. So yeah, honestly review everything, look at competitors and see where your pain points are and where you can improve. So I'll do that today. Another point would be about, you talk about, SEO. So getting more search and then therefore being able to convert that into conversion. So again, I mean, this topic today is about reviews and responses. Putting keywords into your responses is free, but that can really power up search engine optimization, which then powers conversion. So I would do that, build that into your responses. Equally on the retention side, if you do lovely personalized responses, that's going to lead to better customer satisfaction, which is going to lead to more and more people coming back. So those are a few tips. I mean, I think the fourth tip I would just need to say is, it's all about retention as well. For me, is there's so much focus always on like the shiny new things and filling your funnel at the top, whereas for me it would always be more like, again, coming back to facts. It's 7 to whatever 25 times, depends what research report you quote, more cost efficient to retain customers. Yet we seem to just have this leaky bucket all the time, where we're just letting our hard-earned customers drip out because we've got all these holes in the experience. You know, this button doesn't work, or the service is rubbish, or no one follows up with you, or there's no loyalty program. So, you know, how do you keep your people now, especially when it's limited footfall?
Thank you, Ali. Just a quick reminder, actually, if people have any questions that they would like to pose to our panel, please do post them in the chat, and we will try and get to that before the end of the session. We always appreciate those questions coming into us. So based on what Ali says, and Christophe, I mean, in preparation for this webinar, I've been doing a lot of research into what you're doing at Revuse. I was watching your webinar presentation, I think it was Sync B&B, going back over your recent presentation as well, the book direct show, a very good event that we're happy to support. But in terms of what you're doing at Revuse, we talk about credibility, SEO, conversion rates. Are there simple and cost-effective ways to achieve these?
Yeah, I mean, trust and credibility has a direct impact on conversion. I mean, this is an absolute truth. So using at the end the review widget and review aggregation has a direct impact. And beyond what I can tell you myself, we can mention the pilot VRBO did with the fast start. There was an article in short-term rentals about that a few weeks ago. And so for those of you that haven't heard of it, what they did for new properties, and for a certain kind of property managers with a good performance in terms of with the high reviews above 4.5, they displayed a review score badge based on other reviews from other OTAs. So this is the first time this has been done in an OTA, and the results were a 25% increase in bookings respect to other similar new properties, 50% increase in book night, and a 140% increase in gross booking value. So it's a pilot. I mean, all the percentage have to be taken carefully, but at the end, what is clear is genuine reviews and review aggregation has a strong impact, and anyone can make a test. At the end, what I usually say is, don't believe a word I say, don't believe a percentage we talk about, but at least try it in your own business and see the result by yourself. So at the end, to increase the trust and credibility, it's very challenging, not to say impossible, to do it by yourself, and that's where a third party can help you. And I'm not only speaking about third party reviews using our review aggregator, which is of course a good way to generate trust and to show how you are performing as a property manager across all your properties and in each properties with the review aggregator, with the review aggregator per property. But I'm also talking about third-party insurances. This is a good to use to offer insurance, cancellation insurance for your guests, or to use third-party accreditation, a third party that certifies your real business. And personally, so these 3 examples for third party, but also you as a property manager, you can also make several actions to increase your trust, as a who you are section, detailed who you are section, including links to your social networks, relaxed cancellation policy, of course, and secure payment options. I would say this would be my tips to increase trust and credibility. And all these elements are not, you don't have to choose one or another. They are all complementary.
So this really goes to show the power of reviews and how far it can go in driving direct bookings conversion.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mentioned about third parties there. So Satyan, I'll go to you next. Do you think people's preferences for leaving reviews is going to change as well? Is it almost easier to leave a bad review, shall we say, online than it is at reception? Do you think it's going to stay like that, or will it get more direct? What are your thoughts on that?
Who knows? Purely because I think the nature of how you leave a review has changed an awful amount anyway. It's gone from the quaint guest book in the reception area to if you booked via an OTA. I'm using hotels.com as an example. They do a great job with their app, and they know when you've checked in, and all they want to know is a smiley face or a sad face based on just that part of your stay. How was reception? Are you happy with your room, for example? And then everything else follows later on. I'm still being chased to leave a review following my week-long break over Easter via email, which I should do, and I absolutely understand the importance of it. But a lot of people have other things on their minds, right? If there was something exceptional, whether it is positive or negative, then that would absolutely drive me. And and people do have time on their hands, right? And you want to do something which is a little bit more personalized, especially if you get that feeling from the supplier or the person that you're staying with, for example. So how things will change, I mean, it'll become a lot more immediate, I think. People will expect to be able to do everything on their mobile, or will want to do it on their mobile when they're either on during their experience or not. But again, I think it's just really important to emphasize, again, to Ali's point, in case of the amount of people I speak to and who haven't gone through the process that they expect their guests to do is usually quite phenomenal. So whether it's experience your website, whether it's actually calling up your switchboard, and when I say using your website, it's using it on on Android or using it on iOS, but essentially there are these different methods that people are interacting with you. And if it's clunky, if it's slow, then that's their first point of call. We did a great study, which it's online. You can do a search for the messy middle, and it's on, I think, with Google website, and that basically highlights, you know what you want, and you want to pay for it, but there's a whole kind of part in the middle which affects your decision making. Now, you may well know a brand, but it doesn't necessarily take too much for you to change your mind. And it's not just price either. It is reviews. It is the social aspect of it, and there's other things which can be done to help convince a guest to choose you rather than someone else.
So based on your thoughts there, do you think reviews in the short-term rental space, actually, how far do you think they need to go now to be more standardized, professional, in line with what we see with the hotel space, like with a Review Pro, for example?
I think they need to be easy to leave. They need to be easy to respond to as well. And the ability to actually be able to filter them and show them so that they're as relevant as possible to your future guests is the most important thing, which can take a bit of work. It can take a bit of infrastructure to get that right. But at the very core of it is the responses. So making sure you are responding to anything which is either positive or not so positive.
I'd direct the same question there at Christophe. Being in the short-term rental space, how far do you think that our space has to go to catch up with what's already out there?
You mean in the other platforms in the hotel industry, for example?
In maybe more established.
Yeah. Well, they have over 10 years advanced compared to what we have in short-term rentals. There are several players in the hotel industry, mainly the biggest two, Review Pro and and trust you. And even Review Pro has established a standard in the industry in terms of genuine reviews, which is called the JRS, Global Rating Score, which what it does is to give the average rating across the different platforms, without saying where the review come from, but just what you see is the global number of the aggregation and the average of all the reviews. And well, it's part of our roadmap at reviews.com. This is something we would like to establish, and to have also our own standard in review aggregation coming from genuine, trustable reviews. So it will be a challenge.
Good stuff. And Ali, I'd like to get your thoughts on maybe the role that a platform like TripAdvisor may play. I hate using this term, but in the new normal, whatever that might be conceived as. But we mentioned that there's a new subscription service that TripAdvisor launched recently. What do you make of that and the impact on the hotel space?
Yeah, so I mean, firstly, I would say, you know, I'm a huge fan of subscription models because they are brilliant for recurring revenue, you know, and predictable cash flow is what owners and investors want. So I, you know, keep seeing more and more of these. I always talk about it on my LinkedIn, whether that's your wine service, or last week I came across like a sneaker subscription services, you know, just regular trainers. It's just, you know, very smart. So the fact that TripAdvisor has done this, they've launched a subscription services called TripAdvisor Plus member, you know, brilliant in terms of just thinking about loyalty. However, yeah, sort of the flip side, the sort of paradox is scary for hotels and hospitality vendors, because before, while there was more parameters into getting to more benefits with TripAdvisor, for instance, needing to have a certain frequency or recency to your visit, now you could just automatically be enrolled into it, and there aren't really any benefits passed on to the hotel financially. So yeah, I think for me, it's more like, what can hotels do to get their own retention program in place? So, so this is one of my favorite topics. I used to work for Fitness First and introduce their loyalty program. So I'm advising a lot of independent hotels at the moment about what is a loyalty stroke rewards program for them. It could be a points-based thing. It could not. It could just be using the power of your data to be able to recognize and reward people when they stay, you know, to recognize you with some form of CRM system. It doesn't need to be, you know, uber sophisticated, to know, right, you know, welcome back, whatever, and then we can, you know, get into, well, actually, what is the proposition? So a reward program and memberships as well. You know, I'm advising a lot on using your lounge space better to be able to people to come and do this hybrid working model, you know, so instead of going to some Costa or Starbucks, it just might be chaotic atmosphere. How could you go to a, you know, a beautiful hospitality venue and enjoy unlimited tea, coffee, light lunch, whatever your proposition is, you know, free car parking, and it's a win for the customer, and it's a win commercially, because you can charge whatever you want based on your pricing modeling, you know, but for instance, £200 a month, it all adds up to serious money. So yeah, sorry, in short, I would just encourage everyone else to come out with what is your loyalty and retention thing. Just get it in now. Yeah.
So we're going to conclude with a few final thoughts, and we've got a few questions coming in as well from the audience. So Satyan, first point for you, how do you think traveller demands have now evolved as time has gone on throughout the last year? Is there going to be more, you know, what's the main emphasis going to be on? Is it quality? Is it flexibility? Is it, you know, cleaning? You Is it all of these things? What are your thoughts? Oh, I think you're on mute.
Apologies. Yes, it's going to be all of those things. I think there's an element of mission creep in terms of guests are going to be expecting flexibility. They're going to be expecting there's COVID safe, whatever that means, because that will mean different things to different people and different things in different countries as well. But they will expect something to highlight on your material, that your rooms are being cleaned at the very least, and they're meeting certain standards. What we are certainly hearing anecdotally from a lot of partners is that people are looking to absolutely get away, and they're absolutely looking to actually have a blowout as well. They are looking for the higher end experiences. They are looking to make it as frictionless as possible. So yes, there is still a huge demand for people who want to dynamically package their away experience, whether it's a flight and whether it's where you eat, etc., etc. But there is still a huge amount of people, and that's usually the vast majority, who want someone else to do that for them, right? So they are going back to their the TUIs. They are going back to those brands which they've known and trusted, especially over the last couple of years, not necessarily COVID, but things like Monarch Airlines and the examples of other airlines going bust, and the concerns have continued to build up as well. So people want security, they want flexibility when they're actually making a booking, and they want the ability to actually know that if they've booked it, they are going to go away at some point. Obviously, there are things that are going to be out of their control, but they would expect that it to be as easily negotiable as possible.
And Christophe, how do you think maybe operators could be preparing for these evolving traveller demands based on what Satyan has said?
Yeah, well, I absolutely agree with what Satyan said. I mean, in terms of security, flexibility, COVID cleaning, and apart from all those aspects, I think there's another very important movement that started and that became stronger with in the past year, which is the book direct movement. And I think this is a clear necessity, not only for property managers to keep more control over their business, but also a demand from travelers. There is really a big demand from both sides, and I think during COVID times this really increased a lot, and I think it came to remain. So I'm not talking about 100% book direct. I mean, this is absolutely challenging, and but at the end, it's what I really think is correct is to have a balanced booking distribution between OTAs and direct bookings. So at the end, if you offer the same covers a guest could have with an OTA, and at the end you also have better pricing, which is what usually happens. Book direct is going to go on and for longer.
Fantastic. And we got a question in from the audience. I think Ali might be the best one to answer this. So I don't know who it's coming from, but it says, how can time-pressured operators prioritize which social media channels they use? And is social media going to become the predominant forum for reviews? So, Ali, did you want to take that on? I think we've got just about enough time to answer that.
Yep, sure. I have a marketing background. So, yeah, I said, brilliant question. You don't want to be a busy fool. You want to target effectively and cost efficiently. So, yeah, for me, that would all come down to who is your target consumer in the first place. It needs to be clarity of that before you get to what is the message and then what is the channel. So for instance, if I'm a B2C consumer, then I'd be thinking, right, well, so is it, for instance, is it Facebook or is it Instagram? Both of those have brilliant reach, and they need momentum in terms of engagement and usually some form of advertising campaign as well to boost it. But that's more like your consumer channel, and you can get, you know, clever in terms of hyper local targeting, in terms of for instance, if you're in Bournemouth, targeting around a radius of 50 miles or 30 miles, and if it's, for instance, something and you've got a spa location, people who tick well-being, and you know, you can get specific, like down and down and down into who you go for. And if you're, for instance, someone that targets businesses like myself, you'd be all over LinkedIn, because that is the business channel. And you know, there's tips and tricks to all of these social media sites to go. But yeah, I wouldn't, like say, just think, oh God, I've got to be on 5 just because there are 5. It's just what is for you, and you know, how do you just get momentum for that to do it a few times a week.
You heard it here first, and thank you as well to Jo from reviewsforyou.com for her comments. So yeah, thank you very much to all of our contributors today, to Satyan, to Christophe, and to Ali. A shame we weren't able to be joined by James, but I'm sure we can all agree that we still had some fantastic insights today from all of our panelists. Thank you for your time. So as I mentioned before the conversation got underway, we held our annual Shorties Awards a fortnight ago in a virtual ceremony, and here are some of the amazing testimonials we received from the night. If you're interested in coming on board as a 2022 Shorty sponsor, when we certainly hope to be back in person next year, please do reach out to my colleague Piers via all the contact details in the chat for you now. We're very, very excited about that. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time exactly on Tuesday the 18th of May with a session all about technology. It's called Tech This Out, Tapping into the Traveller Psyche, and that's sponsored by Minute. The sign-up details are all in the chat for you now, and you can get in contact with me at paul@internationalhospitality.media if you'd like to contribute to any of our sessions. We also have our concurrent Urban Living webinar series, and this is a precursor to our Urban Living Festival Stay Live work on the 7th to the 8th of July 2021. That is also going to be in person, and this is a bit of a snapshot here of what you can expect from some of our fantastic, we've got a fantastic list of exhibitors, festival sponsors and media partners. Really excited about that, so check out urbanlivingfestival.com for all the details you need. And for sponsorship opportunities, please do get in contact with my colleague Katie. All the details are on the screen for you now. And a big thank you again to our series sponsor Nuki. Feel free to contact us via all of our various channels, and all that's left for me to say is thank you very much for listening, to all of our speakers, and to all of you for watching today, and we'll see you very soon. Thank you very much. Thank you.